They say you never truly know someone until you live with them. But what happens when the person sharing your home turns out to be hiding something terrifying? Tonight, we're diving into 4 true scary roommate stories that will make you double-check your locks, even if you trust the person sleeping just a few feet away from you. Before we begin, make sure you turn off the lights, put your headphones in. And if you survive until the end, comment the phrase, "I'm never living with anyone again," so I know you made it through. And of course, like and subscribe to Velvet Shadows for more real-life horror every week, if you dare. Story 1. The room behind the closet. You know, when you first move in with a stranger, there's always that little moment of wondering, what if they're not who they seem? This happened a few years ago, back when I was in my early 20s, renting my first apartment with someone I'd never met before. I'll call her Jess. Jess was quiet, artsy. She had this soft, slow way of speaking, like every word had been thought over carefully before it left her mouth. She worked odd hours, stayed in her room a lot, and always kept her bedroom door locked. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I figured some people just liked their privacy. Rent was cheap, bills were split right down the middle, and she wasn't loud or messy. Honestly, she was kind of the perfect roommate, or so I thought. It was late one Friday night. Jess was away for the weekend. She'd left earlier in the day without even saying goodbye. I was sprawled on the couch, half asleep watching some boring TV show, when I heard it. A faint humming. It was low at first, so soft I thought maybe it was coming from outside. But as I muted the TV, it became clearer. It wasn't music. It wasn't singing. It was mechanical, like a machine, running somewhere it shouldn't be. And it was coming from Jess's room. Now here's the thing. Her door was always locked, even when she wasn't home. I'd never been in there before. But the sound was weird, and I was curious. I went over, tried the handle. Locked, of course. I knocked. No answer. But then I remembered something. Her room shared a wall with this tiny coat closet we had in the living room. I opened it up, figuring maybe I could at least put my ear to the wall and hear better. I moved a couple jackets aside, and that's when I saw it. The wall in the back of the closet had this faint vertical seam running down it. Not a crack, more like a thin door outline. My stomach tightened. I pushed on it lightly. Nothing. Then I pressed a little harder on one edge, and with a quiet creak, it swung open. Inside was a narrow, dark little crawl space. It smelled faintly of dust and something else. Something stale. I stepped inside, phone flashlight in hand, and realized it led straight into Jess's room. The humming grew louder. My light swept across her desk, and that's when my chest went cold. Her entire desk was covered in photographs. Not a few, dozens. And every single one was of me. Some were taken in the kitchen, some while I was sleeping on the couch. One, and I still don't know how she took this, was of me coming out of the shower, wrapped in just a towel. Every photo had a date and time scrawled on the back in black marker. I felt this wave of nausea hit me. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. I backed out slowly, closed the panel, hung my coats back up, and just stood there in my living room listening to my own heart pounding. Jess came home 2 days later. I didn't confront her. I didn't even look her in the eye. I just packed my stuff and told her I'd found another place. And even now, years later, I still think about that hidden door and how many photos she might have taken after the ones I saw. If you're still listening right now, comment, "Never trust a locked door," so I know you made it to the end of this story. And seriously, keep an eye on your roommates. Story 2, the night tapping. When I first moved to the city, I didn't know anyone. Rent was expensive, so I did what a lot of people do. I found a roommate online. His name was Eric. He was in his mid-30s, polite, quiet, the kind of guy who always smiled when we passed each other in the hallway. He didn't talk much about himself, but he paid his share of the rent on time and never made a mess. At first, it felt like the perfect setup. But then, the nights got strange. About 2 weeks after moving in, I started noticing it. Every night, at almost the exact same time, 3:15 in the morning, I'd hear a sound against my bedroom wall, a faint, rhythmic tapping. At first, I told myself it was just the pipes. Old building, weird noises, no big deal. But the tapping wasn't random. It would come in a slow pattern, pause, then start again. And then, one night, it changed. I was lying in bed, half asleep, when I heard the tapping. And then, a whisper, my name. Soft, drawn out, like someone was pressing their mouth right up against the other side of the wall. I froze. My first thought was, maybe I was dreaming. But then I heard it again. I can see you. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The sound seemed to linger in the air. The next morning I tried to laugh it off. When I saw Eric in the kitchen, I told him I thought I heard something weird last night. He smiled, but not in a friendly way. It was small, tight, almost like he was holding back a laugh. He said, "You must have been dreaming. I never hear anything at night." That should have reassured me, but it didn't. A week later, I woke up to a soft creak. My bedroom door was slowly opening. I couldn't see anyone in the dark, but I could hear it. Faint breathing. Not mine. I reached for my lamp, switched it on, and the doorway was empty. The door stood wide open. The next morning, I decided I needed answers. I set up a small camera on my nightstand, angled toward the door. That night, at exactly 3:15, the tapping came again. The whisper followed. The next day, I played back the footage. What I saw still makes my stomach turn. Eric, standing in the doorway, watching me sleep. Then slowly he stepped into my room. He leaned down, close to my face, and whispered my name. When he noticed the camera, he looked directly into it and smiled. I moved out that same day. I never confronted him. And the worst part, he knows where I used to sleep. And maybe he still remembers my name. If you're still listening right now, comment, "I don't answer whispers at night," so I know you made it to the end. And seriously, if you ever hear someone calling your name in the dark, don't answer. Story 3, the lockbox. In college, your choice of roommate is usually a gamble. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. I was sharing a small apartment with 2 other girls. One of them, I'll call her Megan, was sweet, friendly, and always smiling. But there was something about her I could never quite figure out. She kept a small metal lockbox under her bed. It wasn't huge, maybe the size of a shoebox, but it was heavy. Every time I saw her move it, I heard this dull metallic clink from inside. We used to joke about it being her treasure chest. She'd laugh it off, saying, "Just old stuff, nothing exciting." But the thing is, Megan never let that box out of her sight. If she left for the weekend, she'd take it with her. If she was cleaning her room, she'd keep it within arm's reach, and I never once saw it open. One night, everything changed. It was late, maybe close to midnight. I was in the living room, half dozing on the couch, when the fire alarm suddenly went off. It startled me so badly I nearly dropped my phone. I got up, checked the kitchen, no smoke, checked my roommate's rooms. The other girl wasn't home, but Megan's door was slightly ajar, and in the middle of her floor was the lockbox. Open. I don't know why, but I walked in. Maybe it was the fact that she was gone for the night. Maybe it was pure curiosity that overpowered my better judgment. Inside, were IDs. Dozens of them. Men, women, different ages, different states. Then I noticed they weren't just IDs, there were credit cards, passports, and all of them had different names. None of them said Megan. At the very bottom of the box was a knife, a large one. the blade wrapped in an old shirt with a dark, stiff stain across the fabric. My breath caught in my throat. My hands started to shake. I put everything back exactly how I found it, closed the lid, and backed out of her room like nothing had happened. The next day, Megan came home. She was her usual cheerful self. But later that night, she told us she was moving back home. She said it so casually, like it was no big deal. She left before the week was over. The lockbox went with her. And here's the part that keeps me up sometimes. I never reported what I saw. I never told anyone. I just let her go. Which means, somewhere out there, she could still have that box. And it could still be filling up. If you're still here right now, comment. What's in the box stays in the box, so I know you made it to the end. And maybe think twice before joking about your roommate's secrets. Story 4, the mirror. Some roommates have weird habits. Maybe they leave dishes in the sink for days. Maybe they eat your food without asking. My last roommate, Liam, his habit was a little different. He collected mirrors. When I moved into the apartment, I didn't think much of it. There was a large mirror in the hallway, one in the living room, one in the kitchen. But as weeks went by, more kept appearing. Small ones on shelves, large freestanding ones in the corners, even little circular ones stuck to the walls like decorations, and they weren't placed randomly. Every mirror was positioned to reflect another mirror. If you stood in the right spot, you could see your reflection multiplied over and over, fading into the distance. I told myself it was just a strange decorating style. Maybe he liked the way it made the apartment feel bigger. But then, one night, I woke up. It was about 2 a.m. and there was a faint light coming from my bedroom doorway. At first I thought maybe I'd left the hallway light on, but when my eyes adjusted, I saw him, Liam. He was standing in my doorway, not looking at me, but staring into the small mirror hanging on my wall. His breathing was slow, steady. He didn't blink. I whispered his name, and without turning his head, he said, "She's in here too." My skin crawled. I asked him what he meant. He smiled, just a small, strange smile, and said, "The woman in the mirrors, she likes you." Before I could even react, he turned and walked away. The next morning, every single mirror in the apartment was gone. Even the one in my bathroom. Liam didn't say a word about it. He just moved out that weekend without warning. I didn't think much more about it until 2 days later. I came home from work to find something propped against my front door. It was a mirror, not one I recognized, and taped to the glass was a yellow sticky note. It said, "She misses you." The mirror was facing inward. If you're still listening right now, comment, "Don't look in the last mirror," so I know you made it through to the end. And remember, reflections can watch you back. If you made it through all 4 of these stories tonight, you're braver than most. But remember, roommates aren't just the people you share rent with. They're the people who share your walls, your doors, and sometimes the places you can't see. Maybe you've been lucky, or maybe you just haven't found out what they're hiding yet. If you listened all the way to the end, leave a comment with the phrase, "I'll never sleep the same again." So I know you survived tonight's episode. And if you enjoy stepping into the shadows with me, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Velvet Shadows, and turn on the bell, so you don't miss the next time I tell a story you'll think about when the lights go out. Until then, keep your doors locked and your eyes open. Good night.